Good morning, my name is Jim Bishop, and I'm with Yes for Chandler Students. Today I'm here to talk about an override for the Chandler Unified School District. Now first I want to be very clear. I'm not a district employee. I'm a parent volunteer. I have 2 children who attend at Chandler schools. I have a daughter who's now a sophomore in college, and my son is getting ready to be a senior in high school. Both of my children were in Chandler schools since kindergarten. I've pretty much been volunteering every step of the way with them. I started as a classroom volunteer, tutored some kids in math, I taught junior achievement, taught art masterpiece, and a couple years ago, I started volunteering on the district level. One of the first volunteer opportunities I did was serving on the Citizens Budget Committee. Now what this is every winter, the district holds a series of about 6 open meetings to the public where they solicit input on budgetary needs. They educate the public on the budgeting process. Periodically, based on the needs of the district, this committee will be asked to consider an override. And that's what happened this past winter. And based on the evidence and facts presented, the citizens of this committee voted unanimously to recommend an override. On May 24th, the school board then voted unanimously to send this election to the voters this fall. That's what brings me here today. Now today I have 3 very simple goals. Number 1, I want to make sure I explain to you what an override is and clear up any confusion between an override and a bond. Number 2, and the heart of the presentation, is I want to tell you why this override is necessary and ultimately why I'm asking you to vote yes on this override. And finally, I want to open it up to any questions and concerns you might have about the override. So let's get started. What is an override? Arizona state law is very clear. School districts can ask voters to increase their M&O budget by up to 15% with voter approval. So I've always thought a better name for an override should be local support measure. Voters can determine that part of their taxes go directly to support their local schools. Now this goes towards the M&O portion of a budget. What is that? That stands for maintenance and operations. When you think maintenance, think about the daily utilities, your heat, water, and air. Now the operations part is your day-to-day operations of the school, the classroom teaching. Now a few years ago, I was here to talk to you about the bond measure. Now bonds and overrides are different. Bond money, if you remember, goes towards capital expenditures. The easy way to remember it is think of the B in bond. B for big. Buildings. Bond money pays for new buildings, pays for new items like buses. So the easy way to remember is when you drive by a school, the building and the bus you see outside is paid for with capital money, which is financed with a bond, but the teaching that takes place inside that building is paid for with the M&O portion of the budget, which is augmented by an override. Now, if you remember one thing I say here today, I want you to remember this. This is a continuation measure of this override. What that means is this override will result in no new taxes. The tax rate for the override will remain flat. This measure will be voted on by mail-in only ballot this November. If you are a registered voter within the Chandler Unified School District, you should receive a ballot approximately by mid-October, and that ballot is due by November 7th. So once again, the highlights: an override is a local support measure, goes towards classroom spending. No new taxes will be incurred with passage of this override. Mail-in ballot on November 7th. Now for the heart of the matter. Why should you support this override? Why should you vote yes? I think to best answer that question, it's important to take a look at the past, what's happened with funding here in Arizona and how that's affected the district, and then take a close look at the present. Examine how Chandler is performing right now in lieu of the budget cuts. And finally, cast an eye towards the future. If you look back at the past, there was a time when Arizona funded education that was close to the national average. In fact, if you go back a little over 30 years ago, Arizona was 29th in the nation in education funding. Over the years, Arizona slipped from that ranking, and then the Great Recession hit of 2007. Between 2008 and 2012, no state in the country had a higher percentage of budget cuts to their education than did Arizona. And that's precisely why now Arizona finds itself 49th in the nation in education funding. At the start of this year, Arizona was 50th in teacher pay. Arizona funds education at a rate that is 40% below the national average. Now, how has this affected Chandler? Chandler Unified, as you know, those of us who've lived in Chandler for a while, the city has grown rapidly, as has the district. The district doubled in size in the 90s. It doubled again in the first 7 years of the next decade. Now, this is important because this happened at a time when Arizona was funding new building. Therefore, CUSD was able to keep up with the increased enrollment. Another significant thing happened about 30 years ago. The district had very wise financial leadership. They decided we better start saving up in case funds get tighter someday. So they built up a contingency fund, a rainy day fund. And the third piece of the puzzle that helped CUSD was overrides. Since 1989, CUSD has been on some sort of override. So when the Great Recession hit of 2007, it obviously affected the district. And in the words of our superintendent, the district was barely able to keep their head above water. And cuts were made, it was tough. No raises happened for 4 years. Many new building or renovation plans were put on hold. And then in 2013, the voters voted for an increase in the override. And CUSD kept true to their word. They used this money to help retain and recruit new qualified teachers, and they kept the classroom sizes small. Which brings us to today. Arizona funds education at a rate that's 40% below the national average, but CUSD is performing very well. I could spend the whole presentation today just talking about some of the many accomplishments of CUSD, but here are some of my favorites. CUSD has wise financial leadership, and for a district of its size, it spends the highest percentage of its budget towards classroom spending than any other district in the state. It also has the lowest percentage of money going towards administration cost. CUSD, ever since the letter grade system was implemented in the state, CUSD has received an A grade. And more significantly, every comprehensive high school here in the district has received an A letter grade since this program is implemented. Now what this means is no matter where you live in Chandler, your children or the children of your neighborhood are destined to go to an A-rated high school. Last year, graduates from Chandler high schools received $120 million in scholarship offers. That's about $35,000 per graduate. By the numbers, CUSD only makes up about 4% of the entire kids in public schools in the state. Yet, CUSD's kids have won 50%, one half of the awards at the state science and state engineering fairs. CUSD is performing very well. The important thing to note is CUSD has a program for every child. If your child has special needs, there's a place for them in Chandler. Chandler has schools for the gifted. Every high school has the full array of classes. On-level classes, remedial classes, they also have honors and AP classes. Chandler has a high school where you can get an IB, an International Baccalaureate diploma. They also have a high school where you can earn a STEM diploma. At the same time, Chandler has a second chance high school. For kids who've struggled in high school, it gives them a second chance to earn that diploma. CUSD has a program for every child. Now the main question, what about the future? When you think about it, education at its very heart is about the future. It's about preparing a better future, educating the future business leaders, civic leaders, first responders, doctors, entrepreneurs. When you invest in education, you're investing in the future. Recently, Chandler received the Niche Survey Award of being named the best place in the Phoenix area to live. And one of the main criteria for this award was Chandler's outstanding schools. When Chandler receives an award like this helps draws in new business that will mean new jobs, new investment into Chandler. This benefits us all. It also keeps our property values strong and stable. When you invest in education, everyone benefits. So please, join me today and vote yes on the override to secure a brighter future, not just for our students and not just for the district, but for the entire community of Chandler. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. On our websites, there's links to frequently asked questions, and you also can contact us with any specific questions and concerns you may have. Thank you very much, and please vote yes this November.